Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting of October 25th at 5:30 p.m. I'll call the meeting to order. Under announcements, we have a few things to let the public know about. We have some great news in that our ambulance is now licensed for paramedic service as of last week, as of October 18th. Chief Gaughan and the staff, worked very hard and diligently to have this come to fruition. So the intention of the fire department and the ambulance service is to have a paramedic available daily from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and as part of the overnight on-call system from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. So the dispatch center is in Northampton, and they'll be aware at all times as to whether we have a paramedic on duty at any given time should an emergency call come in. So. And that's looking to be expanded down the road, by the way. But that's great news, and thank you to Chief Gaughan and others involved with that. Also, to benefit STARS, which is the Supporting the Arts in Hatfield Schools, the annual Men Who Cook fundraiser will take place on Sunday, November 5th. It's always a great time. There's always great food. The money does, in fact, go to support the arts and the band and the programs at both Smith Academy and the elementary school. Also along, as far as school news goes, the weekend, the Friday and the first couple of days of the week leading into Thanksgiving, the schools will be testing or piloting a new start time at Smith Academy. Actually, it affects the elementary school very little, but they're going to be doing it on Friday, November 17th, Monday the 20th, and Tuesday the 21st. Smith Academy will start at 8 a.m. versus 7:30 a.m. And there's been a lot of folks, the administrators and some teachers, working collaboratively to see how that would affect schedules and other things. And of course, I'm sure everybody has seen in the newspaper that later times can be beneficial to the students, especially in the middle school and high school level. So that's going to be a pilot, going to get the results from families and parents and students and the teachers and just see how it plays out. Cindy or Ed, did you have any announcements?
No.
Actually, yes, just to remind everyone that Veterans Day is November 11th, and at 11 o'clock every year, the American Legion has a commemorative event out here in front of the town hall at 11 o'clock, and every year it seems attendance is less and less, so just to remind everyone that that does go on every year, and if they have time to make it, it'd be great. Thank you.
I'm sorry, and it's always November 11th, but I think this year, is that a Saturday this year?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so you might have said that, I'm sorry. So, people shouldn't have to work for the most part, hopefully, so that will help with the attendance, but it's, thank you for that announcement. It's always great to recognize and honor those who help defend our country. So Marlene, did you have any announcements that you needed to add? Okay, thank you. All right, we have the minutes in our packet from October 10th. I don't know, did everyone have a chance to review those, and are there any questions, or is there a motion to accept those minutes?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Is there a second?
The second.
Any further discussion? No changes, adds, deletions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. All right. Our first item of posted business is we have Sinead Coleman here, who's the Director of Energy from the Hampshire Council of Governments, to review the net metering credit agreement. We had signed previously and indicated a letter of intent back a month or two ago, if I'm not mistaken. And then now we're at the point where the board's being asked to make a decision if it's something we're going to go forward with. And this is for the town buildings, the municipal buildings, right? Both schools and
Right.
town hall and the garages and et cetera.
So Cindy is looking for the Board of Selectmen to support this net metering agreement, and I have just provided you with a copy of a letter from town council. He does have some recommendations to add, I think, an Exhibit C and also a signature line for town council. And There was one other,
Section 7, mutual.
yes, that's correct.
Yes.
Okay, so I guess all I would say is, I still believe that it's a financial benefit to the town to participate in the program. My only reservation right now is I'm just kind of got handed the attorney's, our attorney's suggestions or,
We will too.
okay, so I guess, I mean, and by the way, I read the proposal, which I had no problems with, but I think I'd be a little more comfortable to have time to digest and make whatever changes are necessary. Just-
Have you seen the changes from our side, our council?
We got that today
Yeah.
at 3:30, 4
Yeah.
o'clock or so.
Okay.
So even though we did review it, all looks well and good. We're accepting all those changes that were made, and any comments that he's made, we're fine with. So I can send back a revised version for you folks as well. And happy to take any of your questions on it, either, obviously not right now, but maybe at a later time. But on our end, it looks all well and good.
Okay.
Thanks to the council's comments.
Okay, I think I would simply ask my colleagues from the original proposal that we had, if that generated any questions, just so we can, get those through tonight, and then see with what legal counsel may have
And I
suggested.
was very happy, he did say that, he suggested that there wasn't anything major that was holding
Right,
him back.
right.
It was just obviously a mutual, I think it was a mutual indemnification clause, and then, yes, an addition of.
And he said it's very similar to other agreements that he
Agreements that we
has seen
entered.
in
Sure,
Massachusetts.
he's
Correct.
doing his thing on behalf of the town, so,
We have the same.
yeah.
I did have one question, so, so we don't come back and I have another question.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I did read through the whole thing and the different reasons for termination, either side, and the notice, has to be years' notice. I didn't see anything in here. What would happen if the HCOG or the HCG dissolves in that 10-year period? Where does that leave us?
So if HCG
Dissolves.
dissolves.
Yes.
So, so there's two different things. So Hampshire Power of itself can continue on as a third party and as an energy supplier doing all of the administration work. Also, on our end, we have an agreement with AgGrid. And AgGrid can either find someone else to administer the credits, or they can pay HCG to continue on administering the credits. So no matter what, you're always going to be getting the net metering credits because you're having an agreement with Belden AgGrid. Whoever does the administration of the credits, honestly, that could be us, it could be a third party, it could be automated. That's kind of that's another.
Okay, and if that happened, that'd still be the 12-month notice
Yeah,
from that
absolutely.
we received.
You're still going to be getting the discounted net metering credits, no matter what happens with HCG if we were to ever dissolve. So it's all benefit to the town.
Thank you.
Yep.
No, and you brought it up, and we should just remind the folks in the audience and the people at home is, this is a 15%
Yes.
discount off our, or 15% energy savings off the municipal buildings that are part of this.
Off the municipal buildings
Yeah.
and the school
Yes,
as well.
yep.
Yes, the school is doing this as well.
Yes,
Right.
yes, and they're very excited for it. And we've been speaking about doing a tour with the science teachers, science departments, and a lot of the kids. So we're looking to figure out what the best date is for that, and we'll obviously invite all of you folks as well, and anyone from the community.
Yeah, great, thank you. Ed, did you have any particular
No,
questions? or-
I'm happy with everything. I'm just wondering if we can move on this if everybody's in agreement that these get accepted by everybody, or do we have to wait until our council and them decide that everything in here is okay as far as these additional
Cindy, did you want to have your legal counsel take a look at what Hatfield's
They've
town
already
council?
okayed it.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just Right, like nobody was able to be at a
Sure.
computer in the
Oh,
past
yeah, I
hour,
understand
so,
that, yeah.
And to
Yeah,
make the edits and
absolutely.
change, but yes, they've reviewed it, all looks well
Okay.
and good.
So to Ed's point, I'm actually okay with that. If we move forward, given that both parties, like any agreement, are okay with the changes as late as they are, I think that's okay, and then, and we'll have that as part of the motion, and then tomorrow, or after
When we're
you
able to
review,
receive.
you and our council can do it in writing, and nothing.
I've had this happen before.
Yeah.
So what can occur is you can sign off on it.
Right.
And then we still have to send it to your council with a line item for him to sign off on. And then we can send it back to all parties with very completed,
Yes.
with all the signatures that
Yeah.
needed. This happens quite often.
Sure.
honestly.
Always some last minute things
Yes,
that happen.
always, yeah.
So I'm good with that. I'm not sure how Cindy, okay, so why don't we entertain a motion to enter into the, give me the proper terminology, net metering credit agreement as proposed.
Well, I'll make a motion that we accept this pending our legal counsel acceptance of this and their acceptance of this.
Okay.
And then,
With the changes.
yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
Okay, so I guess that's my motion.
okay. Is there a second?
Second then.
Okay, so thank you. Is there any further discussion?
No.
So we'll vote on that, and then as the two parties tomorrow or the next day or so, we'll just, like you said, go back and forth, and if everything stays the same, then that's when it would take effect, okay? Any further comments, discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I don't know,
Go ahead.
I know this is on the agenda, but I did want to say that HCG was awarded the Mass Clean Energy Center first solar thermal challenge. So if you've heard of solar PV, you have it at a Solarize program where everyone in town can put solar on their roofs to generate electricity. We were also just recently awarded the Massachusetts Clean Energy Center Solar Thermal Grant. Similar. So Hatfield was chosen, as well as 8 other communities, to be great candidates for solar thermal. So I am inviting anyone either from the community or anyone here or leadership, anyone really who wants to take up this. We are going to be having a kickoff meeting just for information on Monday. Monday at 99 Main Street in the old courthouse in our office from 12 to 3. It's just informational, but Hatfield was chosen as one of the best candidates in Western Mass to take this on. The reason why is there's a lot of homeowners in town that have oil, maybe propane, and not a lot of access to natural gas. So obviously you have higher costs of energy. So solar thermal can be an alternative for them. So I just, once again, it's on Monday from 12 to 3. We did send a letter out to you folks, and I also have attached the press release on it as well. So very recent award, and I know it's kind of late, but I just wanted to let you guys know.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, appreciate it. Okay. Did you have anything else? Okay, I just wanted to go back as far as our agenda goes for one moment, because I inadvertently skipped right over. Is there anybody here for public comment? Okay, because we do have a few people in the audience. I just wanted to make sure I gave them the opportunity if they were so inclined. Okay, thank you. All right. So, Bob, do you have a meeting at 6?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. If you guys are okay, why don't we ask, you can have enough time to, all right, so I'd like to go out of order for Bob, and then we'll have another conversation. So you're representing the planning board tonight, right? Okay, so,
understand, yes.
okay.
Yes.
You wear many
Yes.
hats, so I just want to make sure. So this is really referring to topic number 8 on our agenda, which would be regarding a greenhouse facility for cultivating marijuana. We had a very high-level inquiry from somebody, and we do realize that as a community, we've got to come together over the next few months with a plan for the future. But since it was brought up, we thought this would be a good opportunity if representing the planning board, if you just had any comments you wanted to make in general, basically.
Sure. Just for sake of identification, my name is Bob Wagner, and I am the current chair of the planning board in Hatfield. So, as you may know, the referendum to allow for recreational marijuana production and sales in Massachusetts did pass at the ballot, I guess it was last November. Subsequent to that, the legislature actually passed legislation that modified that slightly, which are the new rules that we're operating under. And so there's a couple things that we need to keep in mind as we consider whether or not we allow production and sale of marijuana in town. One is towns and communities are allowed to opt out of this entirely. However, the new law passed by the legislature requires that if the referendum passed in a community, to opt out, you need to have a new vote at ballot level. You can't just decide, say, at the select board level that you want to opt out from marijuana production or sales. If it passed, and it did pass in Hatfield, albeit not by a lot. It wasn't a huge margin. Certainly none of the margins that we saw in any of the other referendum items that passed or failed in Hatfield, but it did pass. So we would have to vote again if we chose to opt out. The other thing, as I understand, and we'll want to get town council's interpretation on all of this, is that you can't cherry pick this. So you can't choose to allow production of marijuana in your town and not sales. I think you can allow sales, but perhaps not production, but you can't allow production and manufacturing and then not also sales. So you have to sort of, if you want the back end of the operation, you have to allow the front end retail aspects of the operation. The other thing that I think is really important in this case, because the gentleman or the individual that contacted you referred to this as a greenhouse, is that the other thing the legislature made clear in their in this bill that they passed over the summer, earlier in the summer, is that the growing of marijuana is not considered agriculture under the state's planning code, which is Chapter 40A in particular, which provides some substantial exemptions to agricultural activities and the review and rejection, perhaps, of buildings associated with agriculture in a town or under the town's zoning bylaws. So this type of activity, the building of a large greenhouse, would fall under the planning board if we were to move forward and adopt zoning bylaws, would fall under any other major development review that we would have, whether this 40,000 to 50,000 square foot building was, selling and manufacturing widgets or if it was growing marijuana. That being said, myself as the chair of the planning board would pause if anybody came into town asking to put up a 40 to 50,000 square foot building. We do have a major development bylaw that you may be aware of. It passed probably 15 to 20 years ago in light of thoughts that there may be a Home Depot out on Route 5. And again, we would want to get town council's review of this, but I was just reviewing this, and it specifically says the provision of this section shall apply to a retail business, which would, for example, generate more than 1,000 vehicle trips per day or more. I doubt that would be the case here. Involve the physical alteration of 10 or more acres. That would not be the case here. We'd still be talking about an acre of land under a building. And use resulting in a building of 30,000 square feet or more, which of course this would. So the question is whether or not the production of marijuana is a retail use. But that being said, we would still have other reviews within our purview under our current zoning bylaw. The other thing that I would feel as, again, I'm only speaking on my own behalf as the chair of the planning board, and I may not be the chair after we have elections again next spring, but that being said, I would be on the planning board for, until my next reelection, which I think is a couple years out. I would have a hard time myself allowing the production of marijuana in a building of 40 to 50,000 square feet in any zone other than our light industrial or industrial zones. Of course, the retail sales of marijuana might be something that could occur in a business district. But I can't see us allowing a building of that size, again, regardless of whether they're growing marijuana or manufacturing widgets, to be in a rural residential zone or one of our ag zones. It's just too large of a non-agricultural, non-residential building to be in that kind of setting. So that's another thing for us to be thinking about.
Yeah.
The other thing that, again, that I think we're going to want Marlene, our town council, to weigh in on is that I think we might have missed the ship on adopting a moratorium to give us a year to consider this, because we got notification from Pioneer Valley Planning Commission with a moratorium, a proposal, or at least a standard language for a moratorium, which would give the town, up to a year to sort of consider things. But my understanding is that it would need to be passed and then approved by the AG's office before the March 1st sort of kickoff date for the application for residential or for recreational sales as well as for production. And I don't believe we can make that happen.
Okay, I thought it was December of 2018. So where am I getting that date from?
So that's maybe something you and I should look into,
Yes,
but
definitely.
my reading of it is that we had perhaps missed the ship on that.
Okay.
So let's,
I will definitely look at that. I thought we had plenty of time,
Yeah.
even if we had done it at annual.
yeah, I
So we
thought
had
it
time.
was, we would have had to have done it before December of 2017 in order to meet the start date of March of 2018. So
Okay.
let's talk about that.
Sure.
I'm
So
sorry.
so
I've been
right now,
away.
excuse me,
Yeah.
I don't want to
Yeah.
interrupt, but I do. Right now, the way everything stands, we have nothing in place on marijuana through the planning board, is that correct?
We have a medical marijuana bylaw.
Okay.
But we don't have anything on recreational sales or production, and it is something that we will, whether it's to, we did hope to have a moratorium measure on the May town meeting, but the town council said we had to pull it back because there was some debate as to whether or not we had had enough public hearings.
So
prior
right now,
to-
where are we at, and how does the process work? You said there's two options, either the town can vote to say no, or the town can vote to say yeah with certain bylaws in place?
That's right.
Okay,
So we're-
so if we want bylaws, it goes to the planning board first, right?
Right, yeah, so we are going, the planning board will begin our discussions of this starting next week at our next
Okay.
meeting.
All right, so you're in the process of
Right.
discussions
And we're getting material from Pioneer Valley Planning Commission with suggested language for both a moratorium as well as we expect to get from them suggestions on bylaws to, in other words, cite and allow for recreational sales as well as
and
production.
you guys aren't sure if you're going to hit the target? I mean, is a target date for you to have that done by the state, or what are you saying?
So that's what we need to discuss with our general counsel in terms of particularly the moratorium.
Okay.
The other thing that I will remind the board and the voters, which is another thing that the legislature changed from the referendum that was passed, is that the towns that do have recreational sales and production can assess now up to a 3% local tax on those generated revenues.
Yeah. And the only thing I wanted to clarify that Bob mentioned was the May annual town meeting that we referenced as far as having the, what we were looking to do at the time was a one-year moratorium was last May.
Right.
And that's the deadline. We weren't able to get it all together. But I'm guessing that depending on how the conversation goes with Marlene and legal counsel for dates and timelines, there could very well be something at in May of 2018's town meeting, looking for some direction from the townspeople.
Yeah, so I think that the other thing that I'd like to promote with the planning board is that we pursue parallel tracks.
Yep.
Because even if we do adopt a moratorium, it doesn't mean we have to wait a year. We can decide within that year to perhaps hold a vote in town to see if there's a change in thinking on the part of the community about now actually having it placed and located here in town. And at the same time, we can begin prepping bylaws if indeed the town wishes to move forward. Because if we do wish to move forward, I think perhaps, quite frankly, the earlier we move forward, the better
Yeah.
position we're going to be in terms of being a location that someone may want to cite a business or whatever. So I think
I would agree.
behooves us to follow parallel tracks.
Yeah, makes sense. And the moratorium Bob's referring to would be a 1-year moratorium.
Up to 1 year.
Up to 1 year, right.
But again,
So-
it doesn't require that you wait a year.
No,
It
but
just
you
means
keep-
that you basically
Agree.
have gotten
Right.
you've hit the pause button as
Yep.
far as the state is
Exactly.
concerned.
Yep, okay.
Yeah.
And if I may add, the municipal meeting with Representative Cocott that Marlene and I had attended last month, that was a huge topic of conversation. And that did come up, and there was confusion as to 17 or 18, because we talked about it.
That's right.
And we talked about, well, if we have that, because there was a possibility of a projected special town meeting in October, November, that we could bring it up then.
Right.
And now that's obviously not going to happen.
Right.
But there was confusion about the date even then. So.
Yeah, so we
I
should,
will
that's it.
refer to that material,
Okay.
and actually PVPC has sent out information
that's
as
right.
well.
Yeah, so that would be great. So we will stay in touch on
Okay,
that.
yes,
And I'll be
definitely.
bringing this up with the board members next Wednesday.
Great.
All right, great.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you for
Okay.
your time
6 o'clock.
and the information. Yeah. Bob's running downstairs to his next meeting.
This is next meeting, yeah.
All right. I'd also like to ask if we could go out of order on topic number 12, which is referring to the Hampshire Council of Governments, HCOG,
So you don't
since...
keep Sean waiting.
Yeah, so we have the Hatfield representative, Sean Berry, here. And we asked Sean to come because there's been different things happening that we read about in the newspaper, and just want to, if any of the board members had questions or wanted clarification on anything, I thought we should go right to the source, which is a member of HCOG, and ask the questions and get some information. So thank you, Sean, for being here.
No problem. Happy to do it.
So HCOG is I'm probably going to use some of the wrong terminology, but an organization that Hatfield and other communities sign up with or sign on to reap the benefits of their expertise in various things, such as the power, the net metering we just talked about earlier. I know that our DPW uses a lot of the services that HCOG's able to offer, salt, sand, all sorts of different things. They also do much of the legwork, since Hatfield doesn't have an actual purchasing director or anybody in that capacity. They'll do sending out the contracts and reviewing them and do those types of things on behalf of our community and others. So, and it's a nominal fee, if I'm not mistaken, to be part of, a yearly fee from the communities to HCOG to be part of that organization to reap the benefits and the cost savings of the various projects that we go through on a yearly basis. So-
Right, our annual assessment is just shy of $3,000 to the.
Okay,
cost
so
of service.
so even if we round it up, we pay $3,000 basically to be part of that yearly.
Right. I made a
And-
request.
Based on population.
Yeah.
Right, I made a request to the COG,
Yeah.
just to get unfortunately, I haven't received it, just a report
Yeah.
on the savings that Hatfield has had with purchasing.
Sure, and I'm sure to a certain degree it fluctuates depending on what our projects are.
Depends on projects, that's right.
But I would venture to say it's well beyond the $3,000, and I would call it investment to reap
And
the
the school
savings and the
uses-
benefit. Yeah, the school uses it too for supplies and et cetera, so.
So I wouldn't disagree with any of that
Yep.
necessarily. I would say that, that's a small piece of actually what goes on in terms of how the HCOG or HCG is able to run and operate. So the assessments that are paid from the towns are minimal in terms of contributing to the actual operating costs of the operation. It's essentially a business that is funding a social enterprise, which is not a unheard of thing these days. I work in the human services field, and there's a lot of people who are doing social work in enterprise and also running essentially what amounts to a business that helps to fund that social enterprise. And so I would say, I mean, that's partially what HCG is doing. Over the last couple of years, last year particularly, the Hampshire Power is contributing significantly to the operations of HCG and its own operations as well. But, with any business, that's the
Right.
case. You have to support your own operations. So yes, I would say all that is true. It's just that is not a significant amount of money in the overall budget of HCG.
Right, understood. I think my attempt was to show that for what I would consider a small investment of
Yeah.
$3,000 a year, the work that happens on behalf of Hatfield certainly,
So-
exceeds that amount, so.
And I would also, add to that as of today, I mean, the way things are structured right now, and there's ongoing conversations about this exact topic, almost all the programs would be available, whether you're a member of HCG or not. But, that said, membership in the organization gives you say in what happens at the organization. So, I mean, that seems to me to be important at some level. And say into what direction does the organization go in? What new programs does it decide to do or not to do? Who gets chosen to participate in the new grant programs? I mean, so all these things, have to do with membership and with sort of participation in the governance of the organization. I mean, so.
Thanks.
So as our rep over the last few years,
Yeah, about a
your
year and a half now.
recommendation would be to stay, that we're actually
Yeah,
to our advantage, or?
So what I think is that, I think, actually, yes, that would be my recommendation. And my recommendation is based on whether you think that there should be changes in the way the organization is run, or whether you think there should not be changes in the way the organization is run and structured, that leaving and getting rid of your say in the organization is not a way to achieve either one of those things. Taking your ball and going home just means you took your ball and went home. It doesn't get you anything in terms of what choices get made. So I think that is a big part of it. Is do you want to have really, that's what it comes
Do I have
down
a say
to.
in
Do
it?
you want to have a say or not have a say?
So over the years, we've been saving the town money by being involved with this program.
I think we have. I mean, I think there was a time when, so, I mean, I have a long history with this. I was the last elected county commissioner from the town of Hatfield when I was just a young man. And was there up until the point where it transitioned into the Council of Governments. I was part of that transition process. I left the organization at that point and came back 18 months ago. So, there's like a 18-year gap in there or something, maybe a little more than that, I didn't count it. But, So it's, I think at times Hatfield has been involved, and I think there was a time period where we were not involved, and then we decided to get back involved again because we could take advantage of certain things that were beneficial to the town. I don't think it's a ton of money that we're investing. When I was on the finance committee, I supported that investment. I think it's worth it to be there, to have a seat at the table, whether it's my seat or somebody else's seat or whoever's in the seat, doesn't really matter.
Why are these other towns upset with the council? I mean, what's going on that we're reading in the paper that, there's things going on that they're upset with?
So, I mean, I honestly have not spent a ton of time trying to get inside the head of what's going on with other towns. Except I would say that if I was another town and I was upset, my answer would not be to take my ball and go home. My answer would be to use my seat at the table to try to change it to be more like whatever I want it to be. I mean, there's no percentage play in, if you want change, in not doing anything. That doesn't work. I don't, other than that, I mean, I only know what I read in the paper, essentially. I don't have a lot of contact with those folks in other towns who are upset about it. I mean, I know that there are some people who are upset about bonuses that were paid to employees and feel like, as a matter of principle, as best I can tell, that public, quote unquote, public employees should not get bonuses. My personal thinking on it is that several things. One being that this is only partially a public concern, and it's a small part. That the bulk of the revenues and things that are coming in and out are being generated right now by an electricity business. Do I have concerns about what happens to the organization if that revenue doesn't come in? Yes, I do. Just like I would have concerns about the town of Hatfield and its future viability if state aid ended, or if we stopped collecting property taxes. I mean, any organization that's being funded via some revenue stream that's not 100% within your control, I guess you have to have concerns about what happens when that revenue stops coming in, if that revenue stops coming in. I mean, of course, it's just like being in any other business. When the business is funding, to some degree, you're depending on it to fund the other piece. I think that you have to watch that all the time. It makes it a very complicated organization, quite frankly, to sort of understand everything that's going on, because you have to not only be familiar with the sort of government and the operations and the way that that part side of the house works, but there's a whole separate, electricity function that, people have whole careers based around understanding that. I'm not one of those people, but, people do. It is confusing, yeah.
But it's volatile.
And I guess I further would say that part of the issue with HCG is legacy costs from the county. I mean, you can argue how those should be paid, who those should be paid by. I mean, there's whole arguments to be made, and I've made them when I was a county commissioner. Those things existed then, to some degree or another. Now they still exist. I have no belief or sense or understanding that being a member or not being a member in some way pardons you or does not pardon you from those legacy costs. The costs that were incurred by the former county in terms of employees' expenses at retirement still exist. Those people are still alive. And whether you're a member of, currently those costs are borne by HCG to some degree. I have no sense, I don't think anyone has a good sense of what would happen if the organization wasn't doing that. Someone would be paying it, and the costs belong to, essentially, in my mind, the former members of Hampshire County, the former towns of Hampshire County, that when they were incurred.
Which is all of us.
which is all of us, right? And that's not just the members.
Yeah,
the
yeah, no,
current
that's what I
members,
meant.
but
It's the residents.
All of
Yeah,
us,
yeah.
all the towns.
Right.
You know, I think there's probably arguments to be made around that, but I would guess that given the way the thing has gone, you know, just generally, that most of those costs date back to the time period when it was a county and we were all part of it. You know, those are mostly there's retirees from Hampshire Care, the old sanitarium. You know, there's some other folks, there's a few odds and ends other folks on there, but, I mean, that's the bulk of the,
Yeah, Sean, if you don't mind, I can
Yeah.
interject. So specifically, there are it's about $600,000 that HCG has to take on each and every year, and that includes, yes, Hampshire Care, or the Hampshire, it was the old hospital, I guess. So we have to still pay for that. We also have to pay for, yes, the retirement and various other funds. Now, not very many other organizations start every fiscal year with $600,000 in the hole. So we're working on being a little creative with that, figuring out, you know, can another entity take on these costs? Is this something that, you know, Beacon Hill, they can sort out? Because our Hampshire Power makes a lot of money doing, you know, we're able to supply a lot of municipalities and businesses and entire cities and towns with power, but it's very hard when we have where we start off the year with $600,000 in the hole, and then we're also funding a lot of other services. So we are financially viable. I look at these numbers every day, and I want to make sure, and I think that our staff also and our representatives want to make sure that everyone knows that we are financially viable, we are making money, but the fact is that we do start off the year in a hole. We are trying to be creative with this as it hasn't actually been approached for very many years. No one has really looked at, is there another way of structuring this organization? And we are very entrepreneurial, so we're able to restructure it, and we have an amazing team that is looking at restructuring the organization so that all of our member towns and all of our clients and consumers know that at the end of the day, you know, HCG is in the black. And you know, and we go around from all of our member towns and a lot of our non-member towns and let you know what our savings have been. I think we've been here now twice to talk about the savings. And then we have other services that we have coming on board. So I just wanted to kind of address that first.
so I mean, so that would be my recommendation, would be to stay involved. I mean, as long as it's worthwhile to the town, and I think so far it has been. I mean, for example, the purchasing department that you spoke about at the beginning, and which is a big chunk of sort of what Hatfield participates in, really broke even for the first time this year in, many years. So up until that point in time, other revenues coming in were supporting it, you know. So there are things that are happening at HCG in terms of Hampshire Power and other things that are supporting the functions that are going to benefit the towns that are members and non-members.
Great, thank you.
I'd like to speak. Just to speak to a couple of things. I didn't realize I was going to go in depth. I have a lot of paperwork I would have brought if I knew we were going to have
Well, we
this,
can have another conversation.
this
down the
discussion.
road.
But, you know, I'm kind of taken aback and almost a little insulted when you say you can't just take your ball and go home. I'm not looking at this as a game. I'm looking at this as trying to figure out the finances for this town the best I can. And it doesn't make me feel confident when you say you start in a hole every year and you're trying to be creative. I don't know, I think the feasibility of it, and you talked about, well, what about these retirees you have to pay for and everything? That goes into the state system. It's all the same retirement system. That would be picked up by the state if the county went bankrupt. Because the system transfers money into the county retirement, and the county retirement transfers money into the state retirement system. It goes both ways. You said you weren't
Only
really
if the-
familiar with that, but
Well, I was on the
I have
retirement
worked
board.
on that. But
So only if it's voted to be accepted, though. only on an individual basis.
No, I've even transferred my own personal stuff back and forth between county,
Right, me
state,
too.
town, and everything, so it does, and that's where it would come from, okay? If I can make that clear. But, you know, and a lot of the things, like, I've followed it, and I follow what the other towns are doing, but I've got an article here on my phone where the Inspector General is investigating, and his statement was that he doesn't know it's viable through the audit to the end of the year if the COG, which HCOG, I think it's HCG now, because they just hired somebody for public relations only to give them a better face in the public. Because if you read that article, it talked about how the public doesn't look favorably upon it. So they hired somebody for public relations, and that says a lot too. If the public's not looking at it favorably and you're paying money now just to change the lettering or the name so the public looks more favorably about it. A lot of the things like with, because I went through your whole 2016 report also, I think we were told we were saving 15% by purchasing the computer services, tech services. And I asked before, I says 15% of what? And nobody could answer that. So you can say, okay, you're 15%, but if you're charging, say, $1,000 instead of $500, we're still in the hole that way. The bonuses you brought up, yeah, that's a concern. If you didn't give out all these bonuses, you'd probably be able to start with a $500,000 deficit a year instead of $600,000. And I am one of the people that has an issue with taking taxpayer money and giving someone who's already getting a salary.
I just wanted
But
to say
taxpayer-
this is not taxpayer money, we don't get any taxpayer money other
Or-
than
Yes,
your
the
dues.
$3,000 we're paying, which
Yes.
isn't really nominal.
Yep, that's fine.
Right? So yeah, it is taxpayer money. And you just got another $1.3 million from the state, which is taxpayer money for the building. So what do you mean it's not taxpayer money?
So for the bonuses that employees got, which was $1,000 bonus, that, yes, I think we only get about $24,000 from the towns yearly for membership. We do also have various revenue streams that come in through Hampshire Power, Hampshire Solar, and purchasing. And based off of that, we were in this year, fiscal year 16, they were in the black. We were able to, we did have a profit. So with that profit, we were able to help.
Now, are you considered a
identify those.
nonprofit? Are you considered a nonprofit?
Yeah, we're a quasi-governmental.
You're a nonprofit, but you're
en-
telling me, well, we
entity.
made a profit. Well, it's-
Well, nonprofits.
So
Nonprofits
I know
don't
what
make
you're
profits,
saying.
but they do pay salaries.
Yes.
And they do pay bonuses. I mean, private nonprofit corporations
I understand.
don't make a profit at
But
the
you
end
brought
of
up
the
the
year.
bonuses, saying that some people, do not like that they don't think it should with, government dollar, whatever it is. And I'm saying, yeah, I agree with that. I'm just agreeing to your point that a lot of people don't like that.
But what I'm saying, I think what we're saying though is that the amount of money that's coming from direct sort of government dollars is actually fairly small within the budget of the organization. You're talking about $24,000 in a
And I'm
multi-million
just talking
dollar.
another 1.3 that you just got for the building, right?
Well,
And then-
that's going
and
into the
then-
building,
And then
though.
another taxpayer amount from just Hatfield alone came in that form of $10,000 for
Well,
that
yeah.
building also for you, as did other towns.
I
So
would-
it's more than $3,000.
I would say it's not for me, but it's, I'm not benefiting really from it in any way. I get paid.
No, I
to be
didn't
a
even know if you get
counselor.
paid. I don't even know if you get paid. I'm just saying,
Very little,
you're telling me
so-
we're only getting $3,000. Well, I'm saying, no, you're getting that.
Well-
And then a lot of the contracts we have, okay, you say it's 15%, but nobody will tell me what, if it's 15% of what are we saving, okay? And so as we go through all these other things, yes, I think there are a lot of questions. And like I said, I didn't realize it was going to be a discussion such as this tonight, because I would have brought paperwork to back up a lot of this. But a couple other things I had, like when we got the tech agreement from the computer company through it was HCOG then, I believe it was a 6% surcharge. So you're saying we're saving 15%, but yet then when they give us a bill, they put another 6% on as the middleman to the HCG. So you say, okay, we're saving that. Well, but you're charging us for you to be the middleman also. So that's more taxpayer funding
So we
right
save
there.
9%. if you want to look at it that way.
But 9% of what?
Whatever the full price
You
from
can
the
put that out
computer
to-
company would have
But you
been.
can put out to bid to a lot of tech companies
But,
and get a good price. You know what I mean?
That's what, I
Well,
understand,
if it
but
was-
that's what this
That's what
is.
they did for that, if the tech company wants to work with the HCG, if they do. There's a lot of tech companies out there. Not everyone bids to be part of the HCG.
so
Okay.
I would,
And the same thing with the fuel that we encountered. There was also a surcharge where we paid the
Well,
middleman for that.
so I-
You said we were getting the fuel for this, the gasoline for all the DPW trucks, but then when we get, the bill, there's another middleman fee that's there. So again, that's tax dollars again. So it's not just $3,000 that's coming. It's coming from a variety of different places.
Sean wanted
And
to
then I
address that.
guess the other, I beg your pardon?
Sean wanted to comment
Oh, yeah,
on your-
I'm finishing up. I figured he went and nobody interrupted. She went and I went and interrupted, so I figured I'd get
I know,
mine
but if you
done.
bring up a particular topic but go ahead.
I had.
No,
notes
no,
on those
what I meant was
topics.
he was going to respond to your comment, but go ahead. He can wait till
I'll
the end.
finish up, I'm almost done. No, I lost my place here, hold on. No, I lost my place now. Is that the plan? Yeah, I lost my train of thought, sorry on that. Go ahead, hopefully I'll come up with it.
so I think that, yes, well, first of all, surcharges, most of those purchasing surcharges are paid by the vendors, the people who are putting the bids in. But nonetheless, I mean, I guess there's couple points to be made. I mean, one is that if the town is not saving money by purchasing the products that they're purchasing at the rate they're purchasing them in, why are they doing it?
That's my point exactly, I don't think we are.
Well, that's not up to,
Well,
that's up to us.
Right. I mean-
No, that's up to this side of the table.
Yeah,
If we don't want,
Absolutely,
If you think
Okay.
but you started out as almost a spokesperson for the HCZ tonight. It was wonderful, it's a nominal fee, and then it's
Well, it is.
3,000. And you go, I don't look at 3,000 as nominal, but,
if we get
And-
$3,000
and
and
you spoke
$1 back, then
promoting
we're
it
making money. That's
and
how I
telling
look
the
at it.
townspeople what a wonderful thing it is. And I'm saying, well, I don't see it all as wonderful. There's other opinions out there. And you mentioned there was opinions on both sides, and I agree with you on that. And,
Okay,
if the last one with the Inspector General's report, I mean, and I think
Is
with
there a
the Hampshire
report?
Hampshire Life Insurance, are they no longer with you anymore?
I'm not familiar with the Inspector General's report.
That was an article on
He
the
issued
West
a
Mass Life-
report?
There was a statement, yes, that it was quoted that they didn't know if the HCG would be above
Yeah,
water.
I'm not
with their
familiar with
audit.
any report or
Yeah.
audit that they've done.
And
or-
then to speak to the insurance, I guess I don't know, are you still part of the Hampshire insurance ones, the ones that were
The,
told to leave the courthouse there?
the,
Your offices?
no one was told to leave the courthouse.
Okay, that one is from the article I read, so, yeah, they said they weren't giving any notice, they didn't know anything about it, and then they were told to leave their offices.
No, that's
Part
not
of
true.
HCC. Well, that's what I'm saying, it was in the paper, so
But at any
that's where I
rate,
got that one from.
yeah, I mean, yes, the Council of Governments, as came up at the budget last year,
Yeah.
does oversee the insurance trust and the rates. The insurance trust came from the Council of Governments originally. It served as a way I think that's a great example, actually, of some of the things that can happen without a county or a Council of Governments in place to organize that insurance trust. It wouldn't have happened. There was no way to get it started.
Where are they now?
Who-
The insurance trust that was. in
Where
your
they've
office?
been for the
They are
last,
renting a space from the building.
they're in the building where they've been for
Yeah.
A different space, not in
25
town?
years.
No, so they're currently in an office space within our building and renting. Now, we have various offices within the old courthouse.
And I'm just saying, because they said that they were gone, they were given no notice, they had no way to access the records they needed to access, that's what the article says, access, because they were given no notice but to move out.
Well, they're
and could
still
no
there.
longer.
Yeah, they're still there.
In the part of the building that's controlled and rented by the HCG?
So,
HCG doesn't rent
well,
that.
She just said that you were
what we
renting
do
it.
is
No, the retirement board rents space.
you're retired.
Right, that's what I
So
said, the
board
part you
itself-
rent.
Yeah, so the board itself will rent the space within the old courthouse building. Now, I mean, when it comes with the
Separate
news
from the
article,
HCZ?
when it comes with the news article, we've been speaking with Jim Russell and a few of the other reporters there. Unfortunately, they haven't got a lot of our comment on a lot of these things. And it's very unfortunate
Yeah,
because
it is.
we have amazing grants, like, for example, the solar thermal grant, which we were just awarded. They refused to pick that up, but they loved to talk about this particular subject, which we still do not know anything about internally as employees or along the board, up to the board. So it's, yes, there is an article out about that. But I don't think that, I mean, if we want to talk about specific points to that, I'd love to get them in writing and we can send them back to our board, we can send them back to our communications director, who does end up speaking with reporters and addressing those
You can
issues.
find the whole thing on masslive.com. It's all written there if you look at that. But you can kind of see where, you know, say everything's going fine, but you know, if a company came into me and we're looking for investment and they're saying, oh, we're starting this year, you know, $500,000 in the hole.
Yep, that's why we're trying to be creative and figure out, because we
You know.
are this strange,
Well,
wonderful.
They don't have a
company.
choice.
So it's,
Right, I mean, there is no choice about starting the year $500,000 in the hole. Much the way the town of Hatfield starts its year, technically, in owing money. We have our own retirement obligations in the town. We have our
not
own.
necessarily in the hole. Everybody owes money, but not necessarily, you know, in the hole by that much.
Well,
I mean, I
You know what I'm
shouldn't
saying?
well, if your revenue
But-
doesn't come in.
I apologize.
I'm using your words.
No, I'm,
No, that was my apology. I should have
But,
said in the hole,
you know,
but we
and
do
then like you
have
said, then you
certain
go, oh yeah, a
debts.
lot of people, you're starting $500,000 in the hole, and yeah, a lot of people don't like that we're giving bonuses, and what I'm saying is, yeah, I can see that. That puts up red flags with me, so.
well, I think that, though, I think that I would just look back to my original sort of part of the statement, which is that most of the things that I think that are being complained about or people are unhappy about relate to running a business. And that's what's happening.
Well,
And we don't have to like
no,
that
no,
or-
that's the background on it. My complaints are that extra 6% charge plus the 3,000 fee, plus I don't think we're doing that well, plus what the gas numbers were this year.
Well, so the extra.
You know, we're
well,
paying, I think, $2.93 a gallon for
the ga-
gasoline when it was $1.29 down here at the Sunoco.
I understand that, but
Yeah.
you purchased the gas already.
I understand that, and that's
Well,
why I
so-
don't think we
so-
should have done
So
that.
let me just say, we purchased insurance the entire time I was on the Hatfield Finance Committee for the town hall,
Mm-hmm.
and it never once burned down. But we still bought the insurance. You're buying that gasoline as insurance that prices might go up. The fact that prices didn't go up doesn't mean that you're being taken advantage of by the process.
No, that's why I say you could go someplace else, or you could put in your own.
But on the day you
You could
bought
put
the
in your own
gasoline,
yeah, that's why
you
you put
couldn't
in
have
your
done
own-
that. You couldn't. The gasoline was purchased, what, 3-4 years ago now?
Yeah, it was 4
So
something a
you
gallon.
couldn't have bought it for $1.92 a gallon. No one was selling it for that.
Right, that's why I'm saying it's $1.29. You put in your own tanks. You know, you don't buy in bulk over a 4-year period because you know it's going to fluctuate so much, you're probably not going to come out on the good end of it. So,
That wasn't a decision that was made by HCG, though.
right.
That was a decision made by
I'm
the
not
town
saying
of
you made a
Hatfield.
decision, I'm saying you talked about how what a good deal it was, and I'm saying I don't think it is such a good deal. I think we can do better.
It was,
I guess if gas was
Without
$5 a
HCG.
gallon right now,
I was going to say,
it would be a good deal.
it was an insurance policy, and at the
Right.
time it made,
Insurance policy is purchasing fuel.
it's an insurance policy to lock in a rate.
Right, that's what it
And
is.
that's what we did because
Just
the
like many
prices
people
were
do with
going
home
up,
heating oil.
up. And who expected them to come back down? So
Right.
that's sort of the life of insurance. I mean, you have it to try to protect yourself should something happen.
And that's what many people do with home heating oil. There's purchase advance contracts for home heating oil that are probably widely sold in the area.
Not anymore. That was a big thing for a couple of years, but they said those are way down.
Sharon, did you want to say something?
So
It's
Sharon
not-
Stragowski, I'm the Assistant Treasurer Collector. So I just went to the meeting from the Hampshire Council of Group Insurance, and they actually supported you guys in the fact that that article was not valid. I can give you the information that was shared with me at the meeting that I've shared with Laura Lee, that it got blown up into that they were kicked out of this space and there was a much bigger situation that happened. So they're still supporting the trust because that article was misleading. So I guess it's one of those don't believe everything you read in the paper situations, so that's good news. From our perspective, obviously this is a much bigger conversation than just this little part of it, but we do get a really good value from them for our insurance. Having gone, I've only been in the position for 6 months, but I've gone to several of these meetings, and can tell you that we're definitely getting some value there. Because if we
With the insurance? Is that
with the
what you're
insurance
saying?
side of things, if we weren't part of that group, I can't even imagine what the town would be paying for our insurances. So that side of things, they are helping us. I can't talk to the rest of it because I don't have much to do with that. But in that form of things, I definitely say we're getting our value from that group. But my bigger point was that, the article is misleading about what happened in terms of the shared space.
And that's what I said, it's one
And just so
newspaper
you know,
article,
They
but-
did address it at the meeting, that, that wasn't true, basically, so.
I think that, and we have a lot on this agenda, so I appreciate everybody's comments. But I guess all I would say is if there's something in the paper about anything, whether it's this particular HCOG or anything else that we're involved with, we need to go to the source and just make sure we're not, and this is for all of us, relying on a particular article or the way something's written or to spin and to get the facts about any particular comments or issues that come up.
And I did say that in answer to Sean when he said he
Yep.
doesn't follow that. And I says, well, this is what that said.
I heard you,
didn't
yeah,
say
I
it
know.
was
I was just reiterating.
But,
that.
and I have one more question for you. But to participate, you don't have to be a member of the HCG, do you?
No, I said that in the beginning.
Did you? Okay, so we don't even have to be a member to
No, but
participate
you
in
don't have
certain
a
things.
No, but if you want to have,
A
if
say
you want to
in
have a
the-
say in any of the things that you raised tonight that you're concerned about, then you do have to be a member.
So that
If
you
you
have a
don't want to have a
representative.
say in any of those things, then you don't have to be a member.
Well, if we're not purchasing from them, we wouldn't need a say. It's kind of like saying, well, if you don't join the Elks, you can't have a say in how they do things. I'm not going to join the Elks if we're not involved in it.
No, but you're drinking at the bar at the Elks. I mean, you're participating in the program. You are. I mean, the town is participating in the purchasing program.
Right now,
And they're participating in the
Right.
RSVP program, and they're participating in electricity
in different,
stuff.
in different
Yeah.
areas of it, yes.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
are. So, I mean, so the question today is not, are you participating or not? You are participating.
No, the question today is that it was brought up, that you spoke in favor of it, and Mr. Moriarty spoke in favor of it, and I think we have to show both sides of everything. And I don't think this should be a platform for just the pros. I think it should be a platform for everything that's going on.
Well, I'm happy to address those issues anytime, so.
Yeah, and participation or membership is based on town meeting approval,
Exactly.
in or out, so,
Yes.
so that's, it's not up to the three of us, I guess is the point I was making, just for, the people. I know we all know it, but I didn't know.
Exactly, that's why I think that the audience should have both, some of the pros and cons.
Well, and I
not
think
just the
that, I
people
think
that
too,
speak
that the
pro.
one.
And they should ask those questions at town meeting too, if they
Yeah,
have them.
I'm
That I
happy.
started 8 years ago at town meeting asking those questions.
Yeah.
And the only thing that the representative that came that day could tell me after 3 questions was, well, you get salt at a really good price.
Well, hopefully you got more information from these guys tonight.
Well, and I think, we're talking about a 15% discount now on the town's electricity bill for municipal buildings and the schools.
Okay, any last minute?
No,
Just because we've got other,
I appreciate the conversation. It's a good conversation to have, to see. But still, I think we need to get some more data on whether it's good for the town or bad for the town. Is the town saving money overall with all the programs? Is the town not saving money? If we got out, would we have to then hire a purchasing agent to buy all this stuff? Or another person? Or if we stayed in, do we use, that's
Well,
all.
I think that's a good point about the surcharges. I mean, the fact of the matter is that there's a lot of work that Hatfield's not doing in the purchasing, in terms of purchasing these products, that somebody has to do. So somebody's gonna do that work. And plus you're benefiting potentially, I don't know about every single case, but benefiting from the fact that you're not the only person buying it. you're getting salt at a really great price.
Yeah, because it's a bulk.
Everybody's buying salt, not just the town of Hatfield.
Okay, great. So did you want to, Cindy, did you want to say anything else? Just because we have
Good.
some other.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate you being here. Thanks for the information. All right. Laura Lee and Sharon, I am very sorry. We've got an update, and then Rich, we'll have you next, if that's okay. Never know what's going to come up and take more time than you anticipated. So Laura Lee's here, the town treasurer collector, just quick update, I guess, on where we stand since our last meeting.
Yep. I'm continuing to work on 18, so that'll be done next week.
Fiscal year 28.
That's right, yeah, working on July and August for fiscal year 18, so that's going to be done next week. Derek's working on, putting the receipts on. Justin was just in yesterday. He grabbed April, May, and June. He's going to do the last quarter. Things seem to be
Trucking along?
trucking along pretty good, yeah. I don't see any, any concerns on anything that's happening right now to bring forward. Everything seems to be moving along well.
The accountant is making progress. He will be working in parallel with Justin on the fourth quarter.
Excuse me.
As of this week, the accountant will have December and January booked, and at the end of the week, his focus is to book February and March by the end of this week.
So we're on target for what we wanted.
Yes.
We're on target.
We are.
Yeah,
And we should stay, there should be no problems. We should be able to hit those targets.
yes. So
At
at this
we
point,
still see us-
everything,
see
yeah.
us hitting those
Yep.
target dates. Absolutely.
And the collector's office is going to be busy the next week getting all of our
It is.
water and sewer bills.
We've been really busy. Next Wednesday is our due date, so,
Good old November 1st. Thanks for the reminder.
Yeah.
No, that's great. I think we understand, as well as the finance community and financial team, there's a lot going on.
There is.
And so while we've been concentrating on, and which we need to do and continue to do, some past, the past information, getting everything together. There's also the current
also the daily
day-to-day things that
operation
need to
to
keep,
run.
right, that need to
Yeah,
keep happening.
that's
So,
right. And we also did a big server migration, which I
Did that
suffered
last
some
week.
on that. So, but that seems, we've got that, we're ironing out those wrinkles,
Yeah.
so,
Good,
yeah.
okay.
No, I think everything looks good, so I don't have any concerns to bring forward.
I was just going to say, while Derek does expect to, book February and March, the
Yeah.
end of this week, he continues to stress that, there are revenues that are going to unapplied revenue right now, and that's something that will have to be looked at in the end.
It's been pretty minimal, though. We've kept that down. I mean, this weekend they came in, anything that he's missing, I'll pull it for other departments. So if he's missing something, I try to get it for him, because I do have all the turnovers, obviously, because that's how he's getting them. So if I need to give something to him, I've been doing that, and he's just marked it as, copy from treasurer. Just to try and keep that to a minimum. We're trying to keep that, so it's, under, 50,000 if we can. So,
Yeah, good. Thank you for,
yeah.
thanks for working together. It's a team effort that's going to get us over the hump, that's for sure. And we're getting close to seeing that light that's at the end of the tunnel. Okay. Did Cindy or Ed, did you have any comments or questions that you wanted to?
No, probably from Marlene. Are the assessors, they were talking about entering things ahead of time and getting a
working
head
on the
start?
recap, yes.
And then the recap or the tax rate for the 15th, is that going to be
Yeah,
happening on the 15th?
I spoke with the assistant assessor the other day, and she has been plugging in some numbers since our last meeting with the assessors and finance committee.
Right, there's November 15th, I think, was their
Right.
target date.
And the accountant will have to also plug in numbers. But he He can still go in and look at, some of the items. But really for the accountant, though, he needs to close out 17 first to plug in numbers. Well, those would be the actuals for 17.
Right, the actuals, but
For
we're
17.
working on the other things. And we just spoke about it when Justin was here.
Right.
Yesterday, so we just spoke about it again, and, the accountant is passing information off, and, we're putting that in, for him to help him out, and he'll be able to review that, so, Justin, he was in agreement, and I think everything seems to be moving forward there as well. Everybody's, working together towards getting those numbers in, so, again, I think that's moving forward as expected.
Great. Have we been able to, not identify, but have we been able to see a difference once we went from basically the paper work to over to Zobrio? I think you guys said that as of
I
the previous
have seen lots of
fall or
differences,
early
like
winter.
more-
Well, I mean, have we noticed that it's made the process simpler?
Yes.
Once we got past those first 6 months?
Yes.
Right, because then, by then, we were already live, so as we're going, I guess my question is, as we're going back looking for information, or relying on information back from
Absolutely, it is.
you
we
and the
can
accountant,
search
everybody's saying it's
on a
just,
figure.
Okay.
We can search on, a payer. We can go off of a general ledger account number.
okay.
So we're able to, retrieve information. We can search.
So it's made us more efficient, and it's increased
has.
it, or lessened the time to
It
necessarily
has, and I
search for
think
something.
it also has made things more efficient for all the departments all the way around. Because remember, this cash management system's in place townwide. So the school's using it, the fire department, the police department, all the departments throughout the entire town. There's no more manual turnovers whatsoever. The treasurer's office enters no more turnovers on behalf of any department. So there's been a lot of positive things that have come out of putting this in. The only thing that I think we struggle with a little bit is that we went with a 3-user license initially, and, we have 20-something users sharing 3 concurrent licenses. So I think that, in the future, we should look at expanding that. The next level would be 9, and I think that would be a perfect place for everyone to be able to not get kicked out.
Right.
What's the
okay.
cost of a license?
I would have to look at my file, because it's been a little while since I looked at what there's like a one-time cost. We currently pay an annual support of $3,000 a year. I would have to look and see what the one-time cost is to jump from 3 to 9, and then what our annual support would be to do the same. But I can let you know what that is. But I think that, where, it is, everyone is using it in a lot of departments on a daily basis, that would be the only thing I'd say that could help us.
So presently, people are getting kicked off if there's more than 3 users.
Or they can't
using it.
log in.
Okay.
Right,
Blocked.
but it's concurrent, so, what we do is, I've got the system set up that if you're not active for 20 minutes, you're automatically logged out. It's working, everyone's getting it in.
Good.
Cindy or Ed, do you have any other questions or comments? Marlene, was there anything to add
I'm all
under
set.
this topic? Okay, great.
Derek would have been here, as I said, I sent out an
So-
email, he's very sick.
Okay, and thank you very much, Laura Lee, not only for the update, but my apologies for taking you approximately an hour later than I had told you you'd probably be up here. So, sorry, thanks for hanging in there.
Yeah.
All right, thanks. Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
All right. Continuing with our going out of order. So Rich Abbott is here. This, Marlene, is this, where am I? Topic number 6.
Smith Academy
Smith
Park
Academy Park
Award.
renovations. So
Where's my?
Rich is here representing Open Space. Thank you for being here, Rich. Nice to see you. Marlene, I think this was actually under your, section or your report, I didn't, or
Yeah.
was there just some comments or?
So as you know, I had reported at a previous meeting that we had put the renovations of Smith Academy Park out to bid, and we received 9 responses, and you have a copy of
Yes.
those responses. The low bid was from Omasta Landscaping for $227,500. And I have met with Rich and the architect, Martha Lyons, and we are prepared to submit for recommendation to the board, to award the bid to Gregory J. Omasta Landscaping, Inc. And you have the notice of award in your packet.
We do.
And then we have 30 days to complete the contract.
So if I just may.
Yeah, please, please.
The bid, 227,500.
Yep.
Is more than we have, so obviously contract cannot be signed.
Well, so thank you. I was sitting here wondering if I was going to ask you or Marlene the question, saying that seems higher than
So
we thought.
my understanding, what you are voting on to accept the bid is not binding us in any way. It's allowing us to meet with the contract, and we have some change orders change
Right.
items that we would intend on, implementing at the signing of the contract so that we can get within what we have. So the bid price, advertised bid price was 190. We did have a 10% contingency, more or less, right around there. But we still want to go into this with some contingency, so our goal is to remove items and get us down to.
And our legal counsel's made comments on that we can do that, right?
Right, we're not changing the scope.
Right, but the appropriation is greater than the bid amount, correct?
Right,
Right,
yeah, I
so-
should correct that. The 242 was the appropriation, but 35,000 is carved out for architect, engineering fees, so that brings us down to
Got it. To the
2 and
one
change, and
idea.
we kept a contingency in there, and we had a target of 190, which.
Yep.
I think we're feeling somewhat comfortable that the items we have in mind can get us down there without impacting how the park, looks for the public entering it. But it depends on, we don't know the details of what went into the bid, what cost what, but we'll, when we talk to the contractor, we'll see how much those
Sure.
various items are.
Okay.
We've done Omasta Landscaping, obviously a local company, and we've gotten some good recommendations. Martha did some calling. I know someone's worked with them, and so we're happy that he's the low bidder, but we have some work to do.
Thanks. Cindy, you're right. Do you have any other questions or comments?
No, I'm just making it, understanding that the bids came in higher, even though they're the low bidder, we can now legally negotiate and lower that, and you guys will work with them to remove the, 35,000 from?
Right.
On the
We have
bid,
some-
and-
we have several items that we could
Okay.
sort of take off the,
And the bidder, if the bidder decides, are they happy with that arrangement, or could they just say, well, too bad, or?
right, that's right. And so we would then rebid. We would go out to bid again, which
Okay.
would, I think we'd prefer not to do that if we don't have to.
Just a quick question, because
Yeah.
last time you were here, they were talking about the lighting.
Yeah.
Did they make a determination on what type of lighting they were going to
So
be
it
using there?
is not security lighting, it's maybe safety, but also aesthetics. It's fairly low, it's got about a 180, shining of 180 degrees, and it's kind of pointing down to the sidewalk, it's not pointing up at all.
Okay, because that's just what we had talked about, but it is above the ground?
Yes.
Yeah, so that was the only safety concern that I had.
Yeah, that's,
Bicycles, people running into, tripping over it.
yeah,
It wouldn't work to have it in the ground itself, huh?
I don't based on the sort of the architect's recommendation, that has its own issues too, you know. Debris, snow, you know. So, I mean, you do see them everywhere. They're fairly significant items, so, I mean, and the walkway's pretty wide, so I guess we're hoping that
Doesn't happen. Yeah,
doesn't happen.
sure, just curious. Thank you.
Sure.
Ed, did you have anything else?
No, I'm good.
Cindy?
No.
No, well, Rich, first off, let me publicly thank you and the Open Space Committee. I know this has been going on for a couple of years now, so appreciate all the efforts and work and getting the grants and everything else that's gone with it, so thank you. So, Marlene, we're voting to accept this basically without the amount, is that fair to say, even though there's an amount in here?
You're
You know what I mean?
awarding,
We're
you're awarding the
awarding the
bid to
bid.
the low bidder for the 227.55. However, there will be some change
Okay,
orders,
so-
and that will be simultaneously with the
Not
contract.
to exceed the amount that,
Right,
that Open Space actually has put towards this project.
Which is
Right.
You're just going to
200.
tweak it down to whatever, okay, all right, okay. Is there a motion to?
Well,
award the
I'll
bid?
make a motion to accept this based on the fact that even though the bids came in higher, you're going to renegotiate with the bidder to lower that to the amount of money you guys have. And I guess that would be acceptable, and also that our town council said that that's an acceptable way of doing it.
I'll second that.
Is there a second? Any further discussion?
No.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you, Rich.
Thanks, Rich.
And to everybody, I'll sign off on that later after our meeting, so, thank you. All right, where the heck were we? Yeah, all right.
so I think we're topic 4.
Yeah, I've got to find my agenda, Marlene.
Oh, I don't have the abatements. Yeah, I don't have those.
Start moving things all around. There, got it right in front of me. Okay, so, yes, so
It's okay.
topic number 4, there's some abatements requests from residents.
I think they were here and they just left the room.
I think they were here for, I think those folks were here, well, I don't know what they were here for.
Oh, that's Mr.
I shouldn't
Gower.
try to guess,
Well,
but,
that's Mr. Gower, and that's his name,
Yeah.
so. Are they out in the hallway, maybe?
Oh,
or-
is he one, okay.
well, we'll notify, depending, either way, we will notify Mr. Gower tomorrow how the
Unless they're in the
works
hallway.
out. All right, well, why don't we, John's nice enough to go look, why don't we take, okay. Okay, well. All right, so, well, Mr. Gower needed to have a meter replaced that had malfunctioned. The DPW replaced it and did in fact notify us that it was, the cost of the water and sewer fees were in fact because of the malfunctioning meter. So the original bill was $301. The abatement would be for $192.22 should that pass. So we'd be looking to abate $192.22 due to a meter malfunction.
I think it's 305, because there's water and sewer.
Oh, both sides, my apologies.
The total's below.
What, yep. Got it. Thank you, sorry about that. So the total abated amount would be $305.77 due to the meter, since that would affect both water and sewer. So-
Right.
All right, so-
Yeah, I mean, I do see a big change, and there's 2 bills from.
Yeah. Yep.
And they did replace it. I just had one question, Marlene, might you know when he actually applied for this? Because I know he's been calling to see.
He's been waiting for
long-
this for a while.
Yeah, because there's no date on here, except for the 31st, but that's the date of the issue, I assume, of the bill itself, because that would be 7 months. Does it
March.
take?
When this came in.
Right, no, the date for when he applied for the abatement, I'm saying, is blank. But you're saying the 31st is the date it came in?
Yeah,
Because I took that as the date on the bill.
no, these.
'Cause the
from
bill
what I
is dated
understood,
3/31.
Because we
Well, the
had
date
2
of the issue.
abatements come in this week,
Mm-hmm.
and these were the 2. Like over the past week, we had 2 of them. I don't know why this says 3 of March of
Yeah, that's what I was
13.
asking. date
That's
of
the bill
issue,
date.
Because there's no date down below, and I know he's been calling Con. I was just wondering what the normal time frame is to get an abatement, and if that was
Usually, I mean, I
unusual, it
hand
takes
them
7
to-
months.
I hand them to Phil, and he hands them back to me within the same day.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is
But you
probably
get them
unusual.
from the
I get
treasurer.
them either in the mail or I get them from the treasurer's
Okay.
office. Or
So it depends who,
from
obviously it
clerk.
depends who the resident goes to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe the second one came right in the mail.
Yeah.
Curious, thank you.
All right.
Are we good?
No, I do see a big change in the two bills
Yep.
from their water use. And the DPW did replace the meter, and they found out it was
Right.
malfunctioning, so,
Okay.
I mean, I don't see a problem with,
So as a motion,
I'll make a motion to accept the abatement, to
Okay.
approve this abatement.
for 30577.
Right.
Okay, is
I'll
there a
second
second?
that, yeah.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Our next abatement was for a pool liner repair. Yes. So this would actually be for the sewer portion only, not the water portion. And so the request is to abate $224.50, which would have been tied to the amount of water used to fill the pool after the liner was replaced. So Chair will accept the motion.
I move to approve the abatement to this address on Gore Avenue for the pool water. They're paying for the water and abatement on the sewer portion because it's not going in the sewer.
For $224.50.
Right.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right, we did Rich. Okay, Marlene, I think we're sort of back on track. So it just, there's changes to the regulations regarding open meeting statute, number 7, item number 7.
Well, just if the board would approve the
Oh, did I miss one?
milling
I'm sorry.
for
Oh, I had a
to
big mark there.
Garrity asphalt reclaiming.
My apologies, yes, thank you.
The DPW had missed the bid when Hampshire Council Governments had put this out to bid, but they had offered to put it out to bid just for Hatfield. However, Hatfield is responsible for awarding the bid and developing the contract. Normally, that's something Hampshire Council Governments would do.
Right.
But we didn't respond to that supply or procurement for services.
Right, this is
when they
for
put-
the milling only on Dwight Street, because the paving was under the separate contract that you
Right.
just
This is,
referred
yeah,
to.
for milling in general.
Right.
And they can hire Garrity Asphalt Reclaiming
Right.
to do milling
Right.
for any project in
Right,
town.
okay,
But I know this was specific, yeah, for Bridge.
yep, okay.
For Bridge Street or Dwight?
What did I say?
You said
I-
Dwight, you
I
said
meant
Bridge.
Bridge,
Well-
sorry.
Thank you.
Talking with Garrett, he had said Bridge.
Bridge, no,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah, that was a project, it's a Chapter 90
yes.
project.
Right,
It is.
Yeah.
yep, okay,
So again, the contractor is Garrity Asphalt Reclaiming.
right, okay. Is there a motion to approve the bid?
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve to award the bid to Garrity Asphalt Reclaiming for work on Bridge Street in the town of Hatfield.
Thank you, Cindy.
Reclaiming.
Yep, thanks.
I'll
Is there-
I'll second for discussion.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Okay, this is for Bridge Street, and this is for 15,000 square yards, right? According to
Yes,
this
I
estimate.
think it was, I read it, yeah.
And there's actually three estimates,
Yeah, the estimated need is 15,000 square yards.
and there's three different estimates here, so which one is the town of Hatfield using? There's the hauling away, legal disposal.
Right, that's the price per square yard, $1.50 for hauling away,
Yep.
legal disposal. price per square yard, $185 for hauling of planned material to a location within town limits, and $1.40 per square yard for loading planned material onto dump trucks provided by the town.
Okay,
So depending on what the town uses for.
The superintendent gets to pick one of the three, depending on what the needs are. Okay, that's fine.
Right.
All right.
Oh, I think it's for 3 different services, right?
Yes.
For the actual grinding, for the hauling, and then for the trucking, or for the loading and the trucking. I think it's a different price for everything they're doing.
Yep.
I think it's broken down into 3 different rates.
That's correct.
Yeah, for the,
Right, but you're looking at this sheet?
yes.
Yeah.
One's for disposal. One's for the hauling, and one's for loading.
Correct.
So it's one bid, but there's 3 components, and they're each priced differently.
That's right.
Depending on what's happening with that particular materials.
How-
So
right.
On all 3, yeah.
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 They're
So if
grinding, they're
they-
loading.
Some
it,
of it's going to
they're
be at this
dumping it.
rate, some's going to be at
Yeah,
that
that's
rate
right.
because, yeah,
Yeah, so it's one estimate, but just 3 different rates for depending what
yeah,
they're
right.
doing that day.
Yep. Any other discussion? Okay, motion was made and seconded, no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, Marlene,
Okay,
Lucky
so we
number
took care of
7.
Smith, number,
Or did I
open
miss
meeting
something else?
statute. So the town clerk had advised departments of changes to the regulations for the open meeting statute.
Yeah.
And I just, wanted to share that information with the board. And specific to page 3, requirements applicable to all public bodies.
That's us.
And this is, regarding the posting of the agendas, and just so that everybody does understand that we are responsible for listing the topics that will come before the Board of Selectmen at the time we are posting. If something should come up within the 48 hours prior to the meeting, then that, with the approval of the chair, we would have to file an amended agenda with the town clerk.
Right. And those are usually things that, like, that just can't wait another week or 2 till our
Correct.
next meeting. So,
Correct.
if a contract deadline is up or something that has to, we need a signature by the end of the month, and we're, our next meeting's not till mid the following month, those types of things are kind of, I think, what
Right,
that should be for.
right. Town clerk posts the meeting notices on the town's website, and I'm trying to think if there's another, I believe she posted out up
Yeah,
in the
out
corridor
here.
too.
Yeah, it's all
Hallway.
about, and I think we've been doing it all along since I've been doing this, but, just, it's another reminder, and it's all about being transparent, so
Correct.
the public knows what's going to be, what's going to be on the agenda or spoken about on any given meeting night, so.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but when I read through it, it sounded like if we wanted the web to be an official posting, that we had to vote and approve
And I
on it to
believe
be
that
so.
was done previously.
Previously, okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah, because matter of fact, I saw the town clerk had received an email from a resident
Okay.
asking about that.
Thanks.
Okay, any other
No.
questions or comments
No, thank you.
regarding that? Okay, thank you, Marlene.
Welcome.
Did the greenhouse
Topic
facility,
8.
so topic number 9.
Topic 9.
Yep,
Again, we continue to respond to the housing production plan that was adopted, approved in 2015.
Right.
And we are, looking at implementing those actions that we had identified. There was a list, and we had prioritized them. This grant through the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, it's a land use planning grant, and PVPC had reached out to me and thought that this grant would be beneficial to the town to, identify or implement an accessory dwelling unit zoning bylaw, which was something that was identified in the housing production plan.
Is this a match grant or just a full grant?
It's a 25% match grant, so that our 25% is $2,500. So I have money in my budget to cover that. So with the assistance of PVPC, they'll be writing the grant application. So what I did was prepare a letter of commitment.
Oh, I think that's great. You know, they've got some expertise in that, and we appreciate it, and we certainly appreciate grants.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course,
Okay,
I'm
please.
sorry. Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Marlene, you had said that would, one of the things they were going to look at and, plan for was like auxiliary apartments regarding bylaws, that kind of thing, is that correct?
Accessory dwelling
Accessory, yeah.
unit zoning bylaw?
Or
Look
auxiliary-
at zoning
is the same-
bylaw for
Would that be the same
accessory
thing
units.
about, the same thing as like a in-law apartment or something like that? Just because we've had issues with that in the past,
Yes, we have.
Because I was looking, if that's not part of it, I would, if we're going to be looking at bylaws for that kind of thing, I'd like to
I will
include that
look at
also.
that, because I thought that
And-
was, I could be wrong, I thought in-laws is
the same
identified as a
thing?
well, I
Oh,
don't know,
something different.
I thought it
Okay.
was different.
And the other one would be, and I just spoke to the building inspector about this, would be the tiny homes, because a lot of towns are running into problems
Oh, I've
with the
heard of
tiny homes. They're
those,
mobile, they
yeah.
don't have sanitary facilities, or they're not hooked into sewer. And I was just reading where a developer bought a lot to put 18 of them on in the town, and he built one, and there's 17 more to go up, and they're involved in all kinds of legal stuff now. So I thought if we had something that the building inspector could look at and do, it might prevent problems down the road if we had some guidelines. So would they be able to add those two things to the plan? For that, if that's.
To allow for the tiny homes?
Yeah, if it's going to be, no.
Oh.
No, to set up some guidelines.
guidelines.
Yeah, like they're doing, just, because you talked about bylaws they were looking at for the
Right, so
accessory
when
dwellings.
we develop
So,
the bylaw, that
yes,
is something
that would
that
be,
we
we
could
could add
look at,
that, the
sure.
in-law apartments and the tiny home things, and do the bylaws, update them all at once. Okay, it was just, if we
Yeah.
could put that in the notes to do that. Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
So are you looking, we need to approve that, Marlene, or accept the?
Well,
need a
yes,
vote on
I
that
would
too,
ask
right?
if the
So-
board would support that.
Yep. Is there a motion to support the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission's grant?
Sure, I'll propose a motion to approve the PVPC grant for land use planning.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any further discussion about
No.
that? All right, motion made and seconded. No further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Marlene.
You're welcome.
Okay. Flipping the page.
The next item is appointment of Finance Committee member Paul Fisher to the Capital Improvement Planning Committee.
Make a
Okay.
motion to appoint Paul Fisher as the finance representative of the Capital and Improvement Planning Committee.
Nice.
Second that?
Is there a second? Motion's made and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
No.
Hopefully, the Finance Committee let Paul know that he was being appointed to the board, by the Board of Selectmen tonight. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Okay. I think that we just were looking for some clarification. Sorry, wait a second. Oh, all right. So, topic number 12 had to do, I was going over to Chief DeKoschak's thing. So item number 12 has to do with a letter regarding membership in, in a letter regarding membership in the HCOG, or the HCG as they're now referred to, but it's easier to say HCOG.
It is.
And of course, we had a lengthy discussion earlier this evening, so
Right.
I don't know how you want to.
I still think we need some more information.
I agree, we need information. I'm not looking to make a decision. What I'm looking at is to do the letter, because most contracts, you don't have to give someone 12 months' notice to withdraw. It's usually like a 30-day notice, sometimes a little more. I would like to have this letter on record sent, and then it's up to the town to decide. Okay, but if the town decides, now you have to give another 12 months' notice, and you're locked in another year.
So my comment would be, since it's the town, a town meeting, town of Hatfield
in May.
that decides whether or not we are members or aren't members, this seems, while I understand where you're coming from, this seems premature to send something that we haven't been asked to send on behalf of the town, who ultimately are the ones who make the decision as to whether we participate or don't participate, not only with HCOG or anything else, which is why we have the annual town meetings. So I just think it's premature, and I don't know that we have the right, for lack of a better term, to send something out on behalf of the town of Hatfield that the town of Hatfield residents haven't indicated we should or shouldn't do.
It's only to say that we're considering it. That's the letter that it is sent. That's all they have to know, is that the town's going to vote on it. They have to have.
That's part of my problem. I'm not sure if I want to consider it. I mean,
No,
you
I
know what I'm
understand.
saying?
Go ahead.
I mean,
Well-
that's my problem right now. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but before I make a decision to consider it, I still would like to have some information on the overall picture. Are we actually saving money, which, is-
Well, let me put it this way. The Board of Selectmen approved at a previous meeting to put out other bids for technical services, correct?
IT.
For IT. Okay, that's what we're getting through them now. So if we would approve that angle, right, to look elsewhere for the IT, which is part of their presentation.
well, yes, but I mean.
I'm saying, yeah, we need to look at all of this, because a lot of the things that we're dealing with them are on a deal, and you don't have to be a member, like to stay in that insurance, for the county insurance, you don't have to be a member, you can still participate in the county insurance. You don't have to belong to them and pay them a middleman fee to do these things.
But I mean, if we didn't do some of this stuff, would we now have to hire a purchasing agent to do the stuff that they're doing? I don't know. Maybe it'd be cheaper if we did, but I'm not convinced. And if we're not a member, then we have no say on direction. We can't send anybody to the meeting and say, we voice our concern or happiness or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm just not ready to send the letter at this time, I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
I'd like
No,
to support it,
feel
but
like- No, don't
I'm
be
just
sorry.
not ready to send the letter.
I just think it's a good idea, and that's why you have three different opinions here, I do think it's a good idea, but, and you said we won't have a place to voice our opinion. Okay, when was the last time anybody here went to one of those meetings and voiced an opinion? Or said, oh, we're not happy with this or whatever. We look at that, like I said, I read through their entire 2016 report. And I looked at the 6% charges that they're trying to put through on some of these bills, and I think it's absolutely crazy. But,
So my take on it, Cindy, is it's 6% of
Okay,
a
so-
charge, of
okay,
a
so when-
contract
yeah,
that
no.
we wouldn't, that,
Okay.
I felt that Sean Sinead, I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly.
Sinead,
Sinead.
you're Irish,
I should have that down like that. That, it's still a business, so those, even though we might be paying, or they're charging us 6% of whatever, it's still 6%, whatever the bottom line is. Let's just say it's 16% for round numbers. If we're saving 16% by going through them and they're getting 6%, we're still saving 10%, theoretically, of what we'd be going out to on the market of doing it ourselves and doing all the legwork, the research, and the
Not exactly.
whatever,
The only
you
thing
know.
that was anywhere near that was the IT contract. That was 15%. But then they're charging, and it's not like a 6% fee. It's like when they did a project or whatever, they throw an extra 6% in there. Same thing. We're already paying with the gasoline. We're already paying more by having that contract with them for gasoline. And then on top of that, they're charging another 6% as the middleman fee. So we're already paying way more than it is at the pump, more than $1 a gallon at the pump. And then for them to do that for you,
Because we
it's
signed a
another-
long-term contract.
Right, and then they're charging
just
another,
making sure
on
we-
top of the $3,000 fee for doing,
Mm-hmm.
for the membership to do that, now they're charging us another 6% of all those fuel costs. to be the middleman for that.
Right, and I think
And
they,
basically, you know,
Sorry.
that's a little bit of paperwork, yeah.
well,
And
they
the
break it
DPW
down
used
because we have
always-
to see,
Right,
you know,
and
what we're
say, okay, say
paying.
it's the salt, the sand, and the fuel. That would be the DPW's expertise area to get bids for that. And from what I understand, someone had already gone out and gotten gasoline bids, and they were able to get them cheaper. That was my understanding. So,
Well, you know, again, I think that we would be, if we sent a letter like this, which is saying we may,
you have to give them
leave,
a 12 months notice if you're going to vote on it.
but, so I think this is premature to send something 7 months before town meeting, who ultimately makes a decision as to whether we are or aren't part of it.
Well,
I
Mike
would
said it wouldn't
also,
even be ready for then.
I would also comment
12 months before.
on your earlier comment about, you know, whether we should or shouldn't do it. Just because we're a member doesn't mean we have to utilize their services at this point.
Yeah, and you don't have to be a member to
Yeah,
utilize
but that's why
it.
I'm, absolutely, I'm just
Right.
saying it the other way. So we're already in a member, we're
you-
locked in until May.
but you-
Let's put it this way, we're locked in until May, and then a year from then, right? So we're locked in, but we don't have to use them. For any bid we want to do, we can hire somebody to be the architect and to do all the paperwork and be the purchasing agent, or we can use them or not. We can do
No.
it on our own.
No, not locked until May. I'm saying you have to give them 12 months' notice if you're going to vote on it. So we're going past next May, so that would be May of 19 if you send the letter now, town meeting-wise. That you wouldn't be able to let the town vote on it for a year and a half yet.
Well,
So at what point do you send the letter? I think that's why they
as
made
soon
it
as
12
town meeting
months.
says that we don't want to be a member, that's when you send the letter. In my opinion, that's when you send the letter.
It's worded that you have to give them 12 months' notice that you're going to vote on it. So you have to give them 12 months' notice before you bring it to town meeting for a vote. You have to notify them.
I'd like
that-
to see the
that you're gonna be
writing.
voting
Do you
on it.
have that?
Not with me,
Okay,
no,
can
I
you
didn't know.
send it to me?
Because the only thing.
That doesn't sound like that's a
The
2-year
only
notice.
thing
That
the agenda
doesn't sound-
said was that we were going to review the letter. I had no idea that you're going to have people here to,
Well, I think-
sell the thing. I'm talking about, I wanted to get the
Sell
letter.
it was, if we're going to talk about a letter to pull out of something, then whoever we're pulling out some should have an opportunity to speak to whatever the questions and concerns are.
If you
That's
do
that's
that,
why I
then they
did it.
should, yes.
Right.
But I'm saying they put in an unrealistic timeframe, 12 months, you have to give them 12 months' notice if you're going to have a town meeting to vote on it. And so now you're looking at 18 months if you're not happy with, if the town isn't happy with them, you're looking at 18 months before you can even vote on it.
And so for 18 months, we would have to continue to be a member if we ultimately decide to pull out.
Right.
I mean, if those are the rules, those are the rules. I still don't think we can send something on behalf of the town of Hatfield that isn't our decision to make. I mean, that's the bottom line for me. It's a what if. And I think we need to deal with, facts.
No, that is to get it on
I
the
understand.
town
This is a-
warrant to vote on it. That's the only way you can do it. That's their rules.
This is a what if,
The
to send
H-
this to them.
No, that's the only way you can put it on the town warrant, for the town to vote on it, is by giving them 12 months' notice that it's
I'd
going
like
to be
to,
placed on the town
I'm not
warrant.
doubting you, but I'd like to see the agreement that we signed that says that. And I'm only saying that, I'm not doubting you. That just seems like an
That's fine.
awful long,
Period of time,
Period of time.
exactly. That's why I was looking at doing it now.
but if you need to give a year, then this doesn't do anything for us, right?
Yes, it does. It wouldn't be for this town meeting in May,
Right.
because they don't have notice enough, so I'm looking ahead till May of 19.
Right. But you wouldn't, so given your scenario,
Mm-hmm.
you would, if a letter was sent, let's just say November 1st,
Mm-hmm.
that's,
You couldn't,
So we wouldn't
That's-
we couldn't have a town
That's-
meeting voting on it
that's-
until
Next
November.
year.
Right, at least,
Right.
yeah. They have to have 12
but the
months
meeting's the
notice.
following May. That's
Right,
my
so that's a year
point.
and a half
So
off.
why are we,
So it-
why are
I
we,
guess what I'm thinking is it wouldn't make a difference whether you sent a letter tomorrow or 5 months from now, correct?
That's where I was going with that.
So if we had
It's still
that
gonna be
amount
May
of
of 19.
time, we have five
No, because that was
months,
18, that's not
wouldn't
where
you
you're
want to
going.
do a
That was
little
18.
research to see how much we're saving at the schools with the
We should do an
DPW? And really do some digging to find out,
More than
okay,
$3,000.
Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but either way,
is.
we kind of need to find out,
But
and
it's
whether
costing us
that's
more than 3,000.
fluctuated over the years. You know, if
Yeah, we should
maybe
do a
we,
cost
we
comparison.
lost money or we did not save as much one year,
Yeah.
but we saved more the following year. So
And that was a
that's kinda what-
conversation the accountant and
what
I
I'm-
had last year, to take, really dig into that and take a look at.
And then I'd feel more comfortable supporting it one way or the other. Right
need
now,
facts.
right now, for this letter, I'm not comfortable with it.
Right,
I'm not supporting it, so
that's fine.
I don't
that's fine.
want to, at this time, I could
But I would
support
think in
it.
the next 18 months, we could review that.
Well,
And it's not necessarily the only time we have a town meeting isn't exactly in May.
once I get
We
some more,
expected a special town meeting.
once I
you know,
get some more
because-
information from the town on what we're talking about, then I'd be happy to make a decision.
Fair, you just got to have the, facts and figures.
Yeah, and that's why I started digging up last year, so.
We should have the facts,
Okay.
absolutely.
And I did get all the fuel ones from the accountant and stuff already, so.
Okay, so that's on hold, I guess, or whatever the right term is. All right, this is what I thought we were going to talk about last time, because I missed it. So the police detail rate update, there was a question regarding,
Did you miss
You
the
skipped
building
topic
inspector?
11?
come on.
Topic
You know,
11?
we went out of order so much, I'm sorry. Sorry, Kyle. Yeah, I missed
Tell
it.
me I've got everything in your packet.
Jeez, no, you had it in there, I just looked at it.
I didn't have it in mind, I don't know how I
You know what, I
did.
think you might have had mine,
All right, sorry.
but I'll get it all.
So the
Well, you should
building
have
inspector
everything, too.
contract addendum, this was an addendum that we voted on at our last selectmen's meeting, which was to change the number of hours of the building inspector weekly. And since the building inspector is under contract with the Board of Selectmen, and we changed the contract in the midst of the contract length and terms, we need to do the addendum, or an MOU, sometimes called Memorandum of Understanding. So that's what this topic is, topic number
Well, we
11.
already voted for this, so
Correct, this is
What
like,
is-
Right, you did vote to
This is-
increase his hours, but he has a contract, so the board needs to
Gotta
vote
change the paperwork,
addendum.
basically.
This will get attached to his employment contract.
yep.
So what, we need a motion to attach this, and that's
Yes,
basically.
please.
Right,
Yep.
I'll make a motion to attach it then.
to approve the addendum to the contract
Yeah.
agreement.
All right.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion made and seconded to the addendum for the building inspector's contract. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
What should I be saying is next?
13.
Now is it 13?
13.
All right, let's try it again. So there was a question regarding the hourly rate for police hourly rates, detail rates,
Right,
if
you
I'm using
recall
the
the
right term.
police chief had
Yeah,
requested the board
right.
to approve an
So,
increase in.
and there was just a question
Right,
as
there were
far
some
as.
questions about whether it's the officer for in-town events.
Yeah, if there was two
function.
separate outside detail
Right,
rates instead of
Correct.
one.
And so he followed up, responded with an email, which I've provided you with.
Okay,
He does not,
this was an FYI, basically.
Right. to respond just to, and just, if there are any other questions, I will follow up with the chief.
Okay, so that's more informational than, right? That doesn't need a vote, correct?
Oh, well,
All right. Looks like we, oh,
Oh, boy.
you're all set?
together,
You're all set?
human resource
Yeah.
policy update.
I don't have it either.
So next on the agenda is a human resource policy update.
We said we would just take it section by section, and seeing that these sections are very brief or short.
Yep.
Previously, we had actually taken a section of the travel policy out of order, and the board had approved that. But I will be revisiting that again at the next, when we get to that section. So what you have in front of you is sections 1, which is the name, purpose, of the policy. Section 2, applicability, and Section 3, disclaimers. I don't believe there are any changes here to
Nope.
be made.
Just a date,
Right,
potentially
Well,
up top,
right.
section 1. Yeah,
correct.
okay.
Unless any of you have
I saw
have
that.
any questions or would like to.
I'm looking for my copy right now.
That's what I mean, I didn't know if you needed it. No, I have no questions. Ed, do you have, or Cindy, do you have any questions on the first 3? Looks like nothing was changed or lined out or anything, so. it's-
No,
right.
nothing, I didn't, I'm not
It's kinda
proposing any
kicking-
changes.
Obviously, the folks at home don't see this. So basically, it's just the name of the policy, the effective date, then the
Right.
applicability as far as which employees this would apply to, and then the disclaimers. It's all on we have 3 sections on one page, so.
So just to provide
was a-
some background here
Right.
for the people watching.
Right.
We've been talking about reviewing the HR policy.
Right.
And we would go section by section. And this summer, it just got hectic, and then with Key's resignation,
Yep.
it just
Yeah,
sort of got put on the back burner. So we're back at looking at this, and I'm
Right, so-
starting with section 1.
right. And I think the good news is while it's not perfect, I would imagine, because things change, we do have an HR policy. So what we're trying to do is go through it. This was attempted back a few years ago before you came back, Marlene, and we got through sections of it. But it's just kind of one of those living, breathing documents that's forever changing. And so, again, for our employees, I think it's a good thing we have an HR. For our employees, the good news is we have an HR policy, and we are going to continue to go through and make changes where we think it's necessary. So,
That's right.
And hopefully start to use some of the things that haven't been
Yeah.
being used, et cetera.
yep,
Stay in compliance with that. Thank you.
sure. Okay, so there weren't any changes, so we don't need to vote on anything there. Okay. All right. Getting down there. So the status of capital
Capital projects.
projects. 'Tis the season.
So many of them have been completed. Horse Mountain acquisition, there were a number of articles that were voted on the annual town meeting regarding Horse Mountain, and those are all completed.
Yep.
The acquisition, and there was costs for conservation restriction, and then there was also a cost for covering the closing and legal fees.
And I'm sorry, what I should have mentioned was this is actually the fiscal year 18,
Correct.
which we're in
Fiscal year
now.
18. These are current
Capital projects.
projects,
This
current
is not to be
projects.
confused with the new kickoff of the
Right,
fiscal year
yeah.
2019 Capital Planning Committee, which will be soon
Right.
beginning to meet and do their due diligence to bring forth, the capital projects for all of us to review at annual town meeting in May. So, all right, so this is an update on the current projects and things that were voted on
Right.
at previous town meetings. Okay. Does anybody have any questions or need any
And do you wanna
clarification
go
from
through them
Marlene?
line by line? I mean, it's pretty clear,
No,
the status. No.
unless my colleagues do. Yeah, I mean, and if you have a question, by all means, bring it on up.
No, it's nice to see things that were voted in are
Yeah, this is all the things we've already
mostly
seen.
completed.
Yeah, that's the only reason, I was sort of kidding, but yeah,
No,
these are things that
seriously,
we've,
they've already been voted on and.
yeah, it's just an update.
Just one or the other.
Okay. So no other questions, or, Ed, you have any other comments or questions on that? Okay. Topic 16, which is the Green Communities Energy Grant update.
So, as you know, we were awarded a grant, and those projects were just completed earlier this week, and most of them were completed last week. So there was a number of weatherization projects
Yes.
at the wastewater treatment plant, the library, and Smith Academy, and that involved air sealing, weather stripping around the doors, And at the library, insulation in the attic or just above the ceilings, and again, air sealing, tightening up
Great.
sort of air, where there's air
Yep.
coming in. The fire department, same thing, they had some insulation put in the attic and attic bypass air sealing. And the elementary school, 151 lights were replaced with LED lights,
Nice.
so,
Yeah, So thank you, and this was a grant,
yes, it was.
and then we also had work done in the schools via a grant, right? Did that work take place, the freezers and that was a
That's a grant that
separate-
we have applied
Oh, we haven't
for
been
to
guaranteed
Maya,
the- okay.
our insurance,
Okay.
right, that's property and liability,
Yeah.
a grant. And yes, we did submit a grant
Okay, I'm
application
sorry.
for the
All right, I thought this
freezers.
was part of the same one.
We should
we love
know in
grants.
November
Okay.
if we've been awarded that grant.
All right, great. So, by the way, with this particular grant for the green communities, so all the work is done now at this point?
Work is complete.
Okay, awesome, thank you. Okay, great. Any questions on those, on that particular topic? All right, any unanticipated new business?
Just a couple mentions. Actually, one of the articles I referred to with Mr. Barry here is in
Yep.
everybody's packet.
Yep, saw that in the
So they
back.
weren't aware of. but,
Okay,
It was there for everyone to read. Secondly, we discussed the vehicle out back last time, and I had asked for an estimate on that. There's not going to be an estimate coming because when,
oh, the donated vehicle?
no, the damaged.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
To the-
Oh.
And you had asked for an estimate on that.
Yeah.
There's not going to be, when she took it to get the estimate, she was told that there was damage to it, and if they didn't do it right away, as soon as they hit the winter salt, it was going to be permanent damage and it would rust out. So they're doing it this week anyway. So there was no time to spare, I guess, is the way I was told. So that's going to be done, and
We'll send a bill to the
and a bill
contractor.
come in, and we can do whatever with that.
Yep.
And vote on it or forward it or how it's going to go. And then the only other added question I had was the email I sent you to have added, did that get added for executive session or not?
Oh, I had talked with Brian about that, and in order to, put it on the agenda, we would need to know what it is, and if it involves if there's an executive session requested, if it involves somebody, we would need to give them 48 hours notice.
Okay, I don't
So
know.
it is something that would need to be put on the agenda. We need to know what the,
See, I thought it was going to be on the agenda today. I thought that was our email discussion. I'm wrong.
you and I had spoken, I had said I would follow up with Brian regarding amending the agenda.
Right.
Right, and when I spoke with Brian about that, the board needs to know specifically what it's about, and if we're going to meet in executive session, we need to be able, if it concerns someone, we need to
Board members
notify
need
them
to know.
48 hours notice.
Right. I had given you the 48 when I had emailed, and then you didn't see it, so okay, go
No,
ahead. Explain to me.
if an
go ahead.
executive
Criteria,
session
yeah.
involves speaking of someone.
Mm-hmm.
So if there isn't any, if we're not addressing, we're not having.
I don't know who's responsible for it. I wouldn't know which employee to have in the session. It would be for us to discuss, so how do I
Well, then
translate
maybe
that
the-
to you? Because if someone was told to do that, they would change things.
Well, then
Do
that
you know what I'm
wouldn't
saying?
That wouldn't really qualify for an executive session.
Okay,
That wouldn't qualify for an executive session. If there's,
but it seemed,
I would have a
but to use a
conversation with
name
Marlene
in
or
public,
somebody.
that's not gonna work either.
Correct.
So how do we do that then?
well, we can
Giving
put,
you the
we can,
information, do you give the other selectmen the information?
right, I need to share with the board or
Has
put
one-
on
then
the
it has one
agenda
shared.
Pat,
what the, what
And
the issue is.
So that information hasn't been
David.
shared yet then?
correct.
Okay. I'm just
Oh, we can
concerned
do
that
it.
time
I
is,
mean, yeah.
time is of the essence on that, that's all.
So we have a meeting on November 15th. I
The
don't,
8th, Are we doing one on the 8th?
no. Well, we were hoping maybe to be, to have the
Yep.
tax classification hearing on the 8th, but our goal was the 15th.
Yes, oh, I understand. Oh, I
Right.
thought we had one on the
So-
8th just as a kind
No,
of, oh,
unless we
okay.
need to, unless
right.
there's a need to.
Yep,
I don't see a reason to have a meeting on November 8th
Okay.
at this time, but if something should come up. So I was going to suggest that at the November 15th meeting,
So we don't have one the 8th then?
no,
Okay.
Unless it's something urgent, then
this is something urgent, right?
if there's an issue that is urgent, then we can meet sooner.
Well, then, the town administrator will talk to you and you can decide that, what you think.
You mean about meeting on the 8th?
No,
Oh.
the subject I wanted to discuss, that issue. Do you know what
Well,
I'm,
do
I can
understand
stay.
it was the custodial cleaning service?
Yes.
Right.
But what happened with the phone call I received, et cetera.
Okay, so if that concerns a person, then we need to
We'll
give
verify with
an
Marlene, but I
individual
think-
48 hours notice.
Okay. I just don't know if it's that person or if it'd be the person that oversees them. So I don't know which one it would be.
Okay.
Okay?
I think you guys need to have a conversation so we know
We did.
exactly what the deal is, or what,
We
because I
did.
have no idea what your,
We did.
what
I think
the
have a
issue is.
conversation.
That was that.
If you feel it's something important that we have to meet in executive session, then schedule something, within the guidelines, and we'll meet.
Yes, you need to sign it.
That's fair, I think. I don't know.
Okay. Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
John, thank you very much. Thank you, Marlene, thanks.